thought a lot about class. Keep all the poems we have read, the beautiful ones. And a final word on the previous poem, which is the narrative. That one. The first two lines, 文官来看灾, the first line, 鸡鸣马头立. So this 文官来看灾 can be interpreted as a dangling participle phrase. Hearing that, knowing that, getting the news that the high official will be in the village to inspect the aftermath of the disaster, or the people in misery. So subject is 鸡鸣. Are you with me? So you see, in classical poem, you can have that. The first line is a dangling participle phrase to talk about what these hungry people have heard, hearing. Well, of course you know what I mean. I think you know what I mean. Like knowing that I don't like this kind of food, you ask me to come to this restaurant. Why? You know, sort of like that. So 文 is actually the verb of 鸡鸣. Are you with me? Or class, indeed you can say 官来看灾. Being the latest news, you can do that. 文, you can say, well, it's classical Chinese character answer for 新闻, the 文. 官来看灾 can be a sentence clause by itself. The news is, where's the is? We ain't got no is. So there are a couple of ways to translate the first two lines. Class, are you with me grammatically? So you need to know the game. And that 曰, so 官曰, the first 曰 is this high official says. And the second 曰 is this low village official says, replies, instead of had the hungry people replying. Because when the village official is replying, no one of the hungry people, citizens, dares to utter a word. Because after the high official is gone, they're going to be heavily punished or something, you know. So instead of saying, yeah, we're so hungry, you know. So that guy just butt in to answer exactly what the high official likes to hear. Are you with me? So although it's 曰, you have to decipher what exactly this 曰 means, what that 曰means. So in the masterpiece, The Story of the Stone, Dream of the Red Chamber, I always think, I don't know why I didn't do it, because I got my first master's degree in comparative literature. I was too young to know about all these things. I should have written a thesis on the character 笑, smile, laugh, from The Story of the Stone. In that masterpiece, the character 笑 appears at least 5,000 times, if not more. 红楼梦 不是西游记 红楼梦 石头记 对 Story of the Stone. But they are all, not two smiles are the same. You have to figure out because of the context. Sometimes it's ironic, it's a sarcasm. Sometimes it's a wholehearted smile. Sometimes it's a bitter smile, you know. Sometimes it's a helpless, to show helplessness. So, it's so complicated. But in Chinese, you just say, see, the subject, the smiler, smiles and said. 笑 Xiao, 笑 So that 笑 appears so many times. So here you have 约 appears 4 times. Right? The 3rd line, 4th line, 5th line, 6th line, these are all 约. So, and then 名约, obviously, some of the very hungry people, they said, our grain is all gone. Like that, in a frightened way. They're frightened of the high official, they're frightened of the local official, on top of the natural disaster. And Li, then the police chief, okay, yeah, he butts in, just like the other high official. Obviously, this Li is under the Xu, so that Xu might be the deputy village head, and Li is the head of the police force precinct. So he is under the control of Xu. So it goes by their ranks. Are you with me? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So this Li, this Yue is, he just you could even say he contradicts the people, hungry people, by saying, there's indeed extra surplus in the silo, when there is none. Are you with me? So the 4 different, same yue, you give it different lives. It's your job. So if you keep saying says, boring. You don't know the classical Chinese language. Are you with me? So we use the same character. It's you who should figure out what this, so you give it some embitteredness, or with a sarcastic smile, or Riley, W-R-Y, is that L-Y? Is that the right spelling?
W-R-Y, yes.
W-R-Y-L-Y? Yeah. Riley, so you have to decide. So this is, and the second line of the same poem, 左右, as I said, entourage. In this case, it includes the Xi and the Li, these local officials and officer, and his own members of his entourage. 左右, it includes all these people who are under him. Are you with me? So these are the little things so the 3rd line, the third line, the first poetic line, 积宝在. This 在 is the verb, lie in. Hunger and contentment lie in the mind, in the speech, in whatever the officials have decided to say. It doesn't lie in the words uttered by the hungry people. Are you with me? So this 在, so classical Chinese, 你是在我们在美国，我们在华美. It's not really that 在. That 在 is be located. This is also be located, but in English it's more like lies in. My happiness lies in how you treat me. That kind of lies in. Are you with me? Abstract lies in. So, class, is it quite clear? So there are these little things. And I sent you, that's why, that prompted me to say, I don't think I did a very good job. Obviously, I didn't explain things very clearly, so which led to the confusion on the part of my poor students. So I decided to quickly to give a narrative. Besides, this kind of poem, I don't feel it's worth my effort to translate it into a poem, and I just do a prose style narrative.
Can I digress a little bit?
Of course.
I'm just curious. I wonder if there are any other Asian languages. I mean, like Latin, or maybe I don't know,
Latin, definitely.
Latin or like Old English, where if we were to interpret them from the how it was written back in 2,000 years ago, whatever, to modern interpretation, that we need to add nuance to it, like the way that you are suggesting that we do with the "ye" here.
Yeah.
Right, "ye" here is just four it's the same characters and four sentences. Yet, if we want to fill in meanings, we have to put nuances to it.
Of
I
course.
just wonder, if other Asian languages actually demand the same of modern interpretation, or is this something that is actually of a special feature?
Quite
of
often. Even
special feature of Chinese language?
this kind of phenomenon exerts a great influence on all the literature thereafter, including the modern literature, like Eileen Chang, all the great masters, nowadays, the modern masters, when they write novels, good novels, beautifully written, often they do this. Eileen Chang is a master. She would use 笑, and you have to decide. And of course, none of her 笑s was happy, okay? Because she's so dark, She writes a lot. In her novels, you see 笑 all the time. None of them, not one, is happy laugh. Yeah. In contentment. So you have to give your own interpretation. You have to figure out
Do you think that's a feature of the Chinese
from
language?
the story.
Do you think that's a feature of the Chinese language?
To the Chinese, I think it's twofolded. The reason of this phenomenon, literary phenomenon. One is to make it simple. Two is to make it mysterious. Yeah, give more for the readers to think about. Yeah, but in English, she laughed sardonically and said, she let out an icy smile, icy laugh, and said, you let the cat out of the bag to the Chinese. We don't tell you. The text tells you. If you can't figure out, then go back to school and study more. That's how it's a little bit out of some kind of literary snobbishness. To us, I have to tell you everything, I won't. So good drama is like that. Tennessee Williams said that. He says, good drama, there's always something that you don't tell. You have to figure out yourself, exactly what happened. So
Shakespeare, there's plenty hidden there.
yeah, the same. You see that movie I talked about, Call Me By Your Name? So if you have seen that movie, Mia has seen it. For me, the father's words, that lecture at the end, ruins the whole thing. For me, it should, after they come back, he is crying in the car, the mother is driving, then the next shot should be winter. And the parents do not say a thing. And then the rest is the same. And the very last sound you hear is the mother is setting the table, and then she turns around, she says, you hear her calling him Elliot. Because they all know. We all know that they know. So why do this? It ruined the movie. It's like we're so stupid we don't get it. He has to come out to tell you, I regret having that part. Okay. But some people think that's the best part. Who am I to say what is the best? Some people even think Phantom Thread is a great film. What are you going to do? I think it's a total merde.
Oh, it's mysterious.
Did you see it?
I just saw it.
I thought it was just total trash. Did any one of you see this? Daniel Day-Lewis? It's just insufferable. I couldn't stand it. Franco, did you see it?
No, I didn't.
Phantom Thread. Horrible, horrible, horrible.
There he admit to seeing it.
No, I don't.
That's a good point.
I do not.
Yeah, obviously a lot of people, Times loved it. Times, the critic review. So who am I to say it? You know, I'm just so. My liking and my disliking are so absolute. You know, either I like it or I don't like it. So you can't go by me. You have to go see it yourself and tell me how you feel about it. Okay, now class, actually we don't have a minute to waste. Let's finish the what we didn't, the second part. In the first part that we did study,
Hey, didn't we finish that one? The third form, right?
yeah,
Third form. Didn't we finish? I thought we finished.
we only finished the first part, four lines.
Yeah.
The finale, we haven't even touched upon it. It's here. Okay, now class, the four lines we have studied. This, the poem that Chang Jian composed at this house of Zen, meaning the house of Zen is in the back of a temple, Buddhist temple. So how morning, how dawn and the sun appear. And then there are four lines we have studied. The four line, the crack of dawn is followed by the sun rising. So the logic is perfect. And once the sun is out, you start to see the winding path. And the winding path leads to a delicate and graceful, a place of grace and delicacy and something mysterious and something profound, a place like that. And what is that? The fourth line tells you is the chamber of Zen. That's where you go and meditate and you sit there and think about life, all the matters in life. And then outside, you see flowers blooming and the trees are very deep in their greenness. Now, among these four lines, the first line ingeniously echoes the third line ingeniously echoes the first line. In what sense? 清晨 is, even though this can be from another perspective, meaning from the poet's perspective. In the morning, he walks into an ancient temple. Or, remember we went over this? Or 清晨 can be the subject. So the inanimate object can become the animate object. The real can be unreal and vice versa. The unreal can be the real. This 清晨, 清 means clear. Clear day, meaning beginning of a day, cool. People are still sleeping. So the world is not filled with their filthy and insufferable breath. Are you with me? And so the third line is what? 清晨, and representing if it's composed, if the perspective is from the poet, that means finally, even though I'm an old poet, old person, but I feel today I am a brand new human being. I'm a young person again. I walk in the early morning, I walk into this ancient temple. So qing and gu, they pose as two opposite characters. And then in the third line, 取经, because when I realize if anyone who is so enlightened that the person can compose a poem like this, obviously this person cannot possibly be a young person. He has to have lived a long life before he realizes all these things. So the third line is 取径 is winding path. It can refer to his life's journey. So coming from having walked this winding path of life, are you with me? 取径 can be a literally it can be the winding path in the back garden of this temple, but it can be referring to the winding road of a life lived. Class, are you with me?
Yes.
And that 忧处 is I have lived, I have gone through this turbulent and tumultuous times and roads and journey. And finally, I have come to this quiet, profound, mysterious place, which comes in the two characters of the next line, 禅房, the chamber, the room of Zen. Meaning I have finally come to this spot. Are you with me? So everything's abstract. So the third line echoes the first line. The verb of the first line is 入, enter, and the verb of the third line is go through. Class, do you see that? So ancient temple, the character ancient is calling to the character yo, the fourth character of the third line. Ancient things can be antique, can be so worthy and so profound, so wonderful and delicate, and takes a lot of thinking and contemplation to understand. So do you see how they match? It's just amazing. So if you feel these are just a simple description of a place, of a site, that's fine. It's pretty enough. But there are so many deeper layers of meanings. Class, are you with me? Which turns this poem into an ageless and timeless masterpiece. Otherwise, why would it exist for more than 1,000 years? And still today we're reading it. It's still beautiful. And the second line, the fourth line echoes the second line. So we say 1, 3照应, 1, 3, they call out to each other. And 2, 4, they call out to each other. But generally, 4 lines are in a perfect logical, there's a fluidity. There's a flow. Class, are you totally with me? So how is the fourth line echoes the second line? So only without the sun, no blossoms, no trees can grow. Are you with me? So they are connected. And Gaoling is the high for you look up, you see all the woods and forest. And you look down, what do you see? The flowering blossoms and the trees around the flowers. Do you see this? And this blossom and tree, they are referring to the beauty of a room of Zen. Because as I mentioned before, Zen, actually there's nothing intricate about the word Zen, Z-E-N. It's simplicity. It's just nature. It's rain, it's the moonlight, it's the flower blossom, it will blossom, it will die. Everything has its natural course. So that is Zen, to live a simple life, accept how life is. Don't be too avaricious or into name, into reputation, because everything will go into nothing, which is the key point of the second part of this poem. The second part. So the first 4 lines sets, as I mentioned last time, sets the scenario. And then we move on to the fifth line, meaning the third couplet. Guys, you are with me? So, first, the fourth line of this poem, meaning the second line of the second couplet, is down there on earth, inside the room. You open the window, or you see the shadows of the blossoms and the trees. You know spring is here, because you see the pink, you see the purple, you see the green, and it's so colorful. And then, so you open the window, you look up, what do you see? 山光, because the sun is rising, remember in the second line? So it keeps rising and rising, and until the entire mountain is basking in the light, in the sunlight. So that is what it means by mountain light. Are you with me? The light of the mountain, the full light of the mountain, pleases. Third character of the third couplet is to please. The character to please, 乐, 乐. 乐 is heart is the radical. Right hand side is trade, trading heart. I give you my heart, you give me your heart. Call me by your name. Class, this 乐. That's why I love that movie, starting with the name in the title of that movie. You know, it has this. Because you like me and I like you. I am you, you are me. So the light of the mountain pleases, creates joy, joyfulness to the instinct, to the nature of a bird, of all the birds. Because when all the birds are in the spring sunlight, sun is out on a big sunny day, are they happy or they're not happy? I think they're very happy. So what do they do when they're happy? They sing, they chirp. So here, if you say, 山光, birds are singing, forget it. It doesn't say, it just says the light pleases the instinct of the birds. But what is the instinct of birds? Is to sing. So the character 信 is connected with the very last character of the next line, 谭影空人心. After the poet has described the very first line of this poem, dawn is here. Someone is walking, or dawn is walking into this old temple. And the sun has come out, the baby sun has come out to be on the tips of the trees up on the hill. And the winding lane leads you to a profound and delicate place, which is called the Zen room, where you see flowers outside the window are blooming, and the trees are in full profusion, growth, in their full growth. And the mountain light has pleased the bird's nature. Unsaid, implied. Please themselves, please the nature of the birds, so much so that the birds start to sing here and there. And all this, walking and seeing and smelling, and then back to seeing, and back to hearing, all the senses. So if a good Chinese poem is not sensual or sensuous, then it's not a good poem. It's just, well, that's another genre, which is what we studied before, the misery of people. That's like realism. But this is more abstract. This is about beauty, about Zen spirit. After all this, human feelings, but ultimately everything is empty. Flowers bloom, they smell good, they look beautiful, but soon they will die. Trees are the same. Now you see that they're so green, but a few months later, all leaves are falling. Of course, before they die, the leaves, they have their last glory, which is turning leaves. So turning leaves actually are very sad because they're saying adieu, farewell, people and the world and nature. Thank you for letting me bloom. Thank you for letting us be so green once. Now we have to go. So it's their thanks to Mother Nature. So human beings, we just say, wow, it's October. Let's go see the forest and all that. When most people would not think of this being very sad, but I always feel it's a little sad. How did you always feel, class? In the fourth season, when you see if you go to Vermont or anywhere, even Long Island, so did you think it was sad? Did it ever strike you as being a little sad? Because all the trees, all these natural elements are taking their last bow. It's their curtain call to the world before they die. Soon, in a few months, new flowers will bloom, but the old ones are dead. They're not to come back. Did you ever think these weird thoughts, negative thoughts? Or you just enjoy the beauty of the turning leaves?
Passage of time.
Uh,
I mean, I thought of the passage of time.
Yeah,
That's what I noticed.
Yeah.
Profound in my sleep about,
So after all this, and either the spirit or all of a sudden, after the morning, the sun, the temple, the woods, and the winding path, and a Zen room, and the flowers and trees, and the light on the mountain, and the birds chirping, and finally, Tan, there is a clear pond. So a good poem like this one about nature and human heart. If there's no water, if there's not a drop of water, it would not make a good, real good poem. Usually there is some water there. Here it comes, the pond. Or a small lake. 潭影, the reflections in the pond, in the small lake. You see how abstract it is. 潭影, the yin, 潭影 can be the subject, can be personified, as well as from the perspective of the poet. He sees that, or the reflections in this pond, clear pond.
Can it be a verb, the reflection?
No, the kong is the verb,
Ah, okay.
because the third character is the verb. Yeah, the entire poem. The reflections, the character yin, the second character, I cannot think of a line in which it serves as a verb. I don't think so. I think it's a die hard noun. The reflections in the small clear pond has emptied out all the worldly thoughts, all the worldly desires in the human heart, has cleansed. Class, did you hear me? This empty, kong means empty, and kong can be a transitive verb, meaning to empty out, to clean up, to cleanse, to clean up, or to empty out the human heart. So nothing is there. No desire, no lust, no nothing. So, which means enlightenment has finally settled in the heart of a human being. Whoever is around here, including the poet, of course, including the readers who read and appreciate this poem, yes. Are you with me? To all people who can be enlightened. 台以空人心. So this character, 空, is ultimately the key word, key character of the entire poem. As it is stated, and I have quoted it to this class. In the Bible, it says, vanity of vanities, all is vanity. So in Buddhism, it says 10,000 of affairs, of human troubles will end up in a void, in an emptiness. 万事皆空. So 空 is the ultimate realm that an enlightened spirit will arrive at. So far, so good. And once you have this, previously, remember I just said all these seeing and hearing and all that? And the finale line, the last couplet, the first line says, the 10,000 sounds of nature. 万籁. 籁 is the sounds that nature creates, including the chirping of the bird, or the whispering of the pines, or the whistling sound of the bamboo leaves in the wind, in the breeze. Are you with me? All the sounds, these sounds. At this point, the third character of the seventh line, the third character, here in this line here, the verb is not the third character. Because the second couplet and the third couplet, they have to match perfectly, remember? So the verb has to be the third one. Here, 10,000 sounds of nature at this point. 此, I put here, meaning at this point. A point in English can be point of time as well as a point of place. In Chinese, no exception. It can be at this point or at this moment. Are you with me? At this moment, once my heart is in complete emptiness, but it doesn't mean that you have turned into an idiot. It means you are completely enlightened and inspired. You have come to realize that all the desires are really nothing. Yeah. We come from nowhere, we go back to nowhere. So that is what they mean by kong. Are you with me? It's not like not without any thoughts. You turn into an idiot. That's not what it means. Okay, it means to keep a cleanliness, a spiritual cleanliness in your heart, without being bothered by any worldly ideas or thoughts. So at this point, all of these things, all the things created by nature, Mother Nature, as well as, of course, including the unpleasant human sounds. Ji, the last character of this line, the fifth character of the seventh line, is quiet, calm, but ultimately in classical Chinese, dead. Die. All the sounds go to nothing. once you are truly enlightened, none of these sounds can be heard anymore. You're in a mental state that you hear nothing, you wish for nothing, you yearn for nothing, you're greedy for nothing, you care about nothing, because each person has their own destiny to go. Yeah, don't even bother to feel anything. And that is the ultimate realm, ultimate enlightenment of Buddhism, Buddhist spirit, Buddhist belief. So this poem is composed very much in the spirit of Buddhism, high Buddhism. So the only thing that rings in the mind of this person, of this enlightened being, is what? The sound that the bells in the temple and the other instruments accompanying the bell sound, like the ding, 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 the bell sound, and the small bell sound and the large bell sound in the temple would fill the mind of this enlightened soul, whoever it might be. Since there is no subject, you may translate the last line in a passive voice. Only the sounds or these musical sounds which can evoke enlightenment and inspiration can be heard at this point. No other sound is there to bother you. If you are smelling the fragrance of the flower, you have the wish to see it and to appreciate it. Not even that. You're beyond that. If you hear birds singing, you would like to raise your head to see which oriole is singing so beautifully. But at this point, no, nothing. Only the calming bell sound and the sounds from the temple are ringing in your head, in one's head. Who is this one person? The poet doesn't say. Anyone who gets to this point. So this is the poem of this, about this. 清晨入古寺，初日照高岭，曲径通幽处，禅房花木深。山光悦鸟性，潭影空人心。万籁此俱寂，唯闻钟清音。The third couplet, while the bird's nature, birds do not have the mind or a heart to feel sad or happy, but human heart is the echo of, is the match of bird's instinct. So human heart can create sadness, tears, and all that. But birds, they only have instinct. And when they feel scared or happy, they just sing. That's all. So this is a good poem, good Tang poem. Class, you feel that you get something out of this? Don't you think this is truly markedly different from the previous poem? I'm not saying that the previous poem is not worth reading or not worth writing, but in my own preference, I prefer this. I think this is more poetic. The other one is more socialistic. It has a little commie message there. You know, but I leave it to your own choice. Yeah. Yeah, the previous poem was greatly praised by the PRC government after 1949. You know, this week, I spent the entire week looking for this Yao Zhen, the writer. I don't know where I got his dates, and 2 dates. And when I went back to search for it, I couldn't find it anywhere. His name doesn't appear. And I'm surprised that Lin Lao Shi found it in your cell phone, in your small computer, right? It's amazing. It's not in my 词源, you know. It's not in the 词源, not in my computer. I found it before in my computer. Now, unknown, not known. You know, I type out his name. First I say Tang, no. And then I search Ming, no. And without dynasty or time at all, no. There isn't such a poet. I mean, that is worth mentioning. That tells you how ambiguity the poet was. But he was widely and wildly praised by People's Republic of China, because it, you know, that kind of style is to say like people are so miserable and all that. But it's better be miserable than being killed in the capital by tanks and machine guns. You all know what I'm talking about. So now we get to this. To be my all-time favorite. Can you imagine? My all-time favorite. And I've been doing this since I was about 6, you know, memorizing poetry. Oh, by the way, speaking of which, I want to hear a recitation by someone whom I'm not sure yet, like or dislike at this point. It depends on how the reciting goes. Okay, so I haven't made up my mind yet. Okay, so is there someone who would like to raise his or her hand in responding to me and not leaving this poor old man in the dark? Someone who laughs.
可以偷看的吗？
不可以。Do I have to say the name?
Okay. I promised I wouldn't recite it because I didn't want to do a translation.
Yeah.
Ah.
But she said recite or memorize.
Recite. I'll recite it for you. Both. Memorize. I mean, I have to memorize.
Recite by heart.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
No?
You can, okay.
Okay. 清晨入古寺，初日照高明。曲径通幽处，禅房花木深。山光悦鸟性，潭影空人心。万籁此俱寂，惟闻中磬音。
很好。
Confused.
In my heart,
王老师
in my heart, he is. Yeah, I fairly like him. Class, Alicia,
Oh, what?
come. Yeah,
No, I haven't promised to recite.
come on.
I'll do, no.
Come on.
Recite what?
Make a request.
You request.
Okay.
Everybody.
Class, I want to tell you something, class. Look at the third, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the 5th line of this poem we just studied. 山光悦鸟性. That 性 is not under the tonal scheme, okay? Because there's a G in there. It's a 性. The rhyming scheme is, the rhyming sound is N without the G, without the N. So you see, 灵 is no G. 声, N, and 音 in ancient China, they rhyme. Even though today, you say one is yin, the other one is en, but in the ancient times, ling can be pronounced as ling, like that. So, ling, in, and en, ending, they are considered rhyming. And then xin is xin, and then the last one yin. So just because the fifth line ends with xing, do not ever think that is the rhyming sound. No, it's not the rhyming sound. And check out ling, shen, xin, yin. Do you see that? All high tone. All high tone. And then the 1, 3, 5, and 1, 3, 5, and 7. The last character, 四处性寂. You see that? One is feminine force. So low tone. And then ultimately is high. So even though the poem is marked by a very light sense of melancholy, but still the tone, the tonal scheme rescues it from total sadness, because it's yin, xin, shen, ling. So there's a little hopefulness always. And your pronunciation, your tones, pronunciation are really good. Yeah, really, really good. Whom did you study Chinese with? Teacher? You learned it from teacher or from your father?
I grew up going to class, but Saturday Chinese school.
But I'm sure you're very good with music. You hear
My
things.
mom plays violin, yeah.
And you?
Well, she
You
taught
play,
me, yeah.
you play instrument?
I used to.
You play, what do you used to?
I haven't touched it.
Why did you
There's no time.
give up?
I have no time.
Find time. No, I'm serious. Because you don't have to be a soloist. But one day, when you get to be my age, you have a great hobby, such as playing violin, or you paint, or you study poem, you write. It will come to enrich your life immeasurably. Yeah, because we're all adults here. Hormones, sooner or later, they will leave our bodies. No, really. And what's the replacement? These beautiful things. Art
That's what you
and
got
beauty.
left.
Really seriously. I might sound like I'm very frivolous and being on the racy side, but I'm telling you the truth. I'm so old, I know. Well, by this time, if I don't know anything about life, I shouldn't be sitting here. How can I talk about literature if I didn't know anything about life? And nothing can be as beautiful as painting, art, and music, because music music comes long before poetry, and violin is really rises above piano and a lot of other instruments, because you really need to hear the right sound. Piano, you just hit the right, you just have a good tuner, to come to see it. Every sound is fine. You just don't, it comes out. Dong 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 dong. Everybody can play it, But of course, great pianists, they have their personal touch. But violin, you create one beautiful sound. It's hard. Cello is the same thing. You have to train. Do, do. For 2 weeks, 3 weeks, you play one note. Do, do. And I said, could I play some Brahms? No. What do you mean Brahms? Just do, do, do. But did I suffer? So violin. So then mom said, maybe violin. I said, Mom, please, I don't want to play these instruments, And the teacher is so nasty. She hit my hands when I got the wrong note. And violin, it's very hard. But once you go through no pain, no gain. Don't ever give up. Find time. It's so good. Yeah. What level are you at?
Oh.
Can you play like on your own a little Mozart or something?
If I
Or,
practice for
or
one time.
only the practice, the very simple things?
Uh,
Or you are beginning to play pieces?
oh no, I mean, I played all the way growing up. I just stopped after college. In college.
Don't you dare stop! Ah,
Motivate.
seriously, it's so beautiful. Yeah, it's one of my, well, of course I like all instruments. My all-time favorite is clarinet. Would you believe? Yeah,
Clarinet?
I love clarinet.
Huh.
Yeah, do you guys? Of course, oboe is nice too, but oboe is so sad. Oboe sound is like Maria Callas, you know. Franco, right? You agree, oboe. Whenever I hear oboe, when she sings, it's like oboe, you know? Yeah. Clarinet is my favorite, but violin, I really love it. What is your favorite piece? Name one.
I don't even know the pieces by name. I just like played them.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh. I have some of my favorite pieces. Bruch, his Scottish Fantasy, and his Violin Concerto No. 1, and Brahms. The only piece by Brahms that I like is Violin Concerto. Yeah. So there are 3 Ds on the violin, 3 violin concerti.
Oh.
Yeah, Brahms, Beethoven, and Tchaikovsky. All 3 violin concertos are in D major. Yeah, that Brahms piece is just out of this world. So now that's why your tones are so good. No, seriously, because Chinese is a blending of music and painting. You know, characters are painting, and spoken Chinese is music. So you hear it. Yeah, your tones are very good. 好, so let's do this 易东山. This poem. How did a poem of 20 characters win my heart like this? For me to believe, I truly believe this is the greatest poem among all the pentasyllabic poems ever written in the history of Chinese literature. And today, being the last class, I have to give you a gift, which is the grand finale of this course. And also to hustle a little bit for China Institute, for you to come back as students, as paying customers. Okay, I tell you the truth, because I like to tell my students the truth. I'm not that holier than that. So the title is by, and it was composed in the year of 743, when Li Bai was 42 years old. I would say his very ripe and mature years. Yeah. So when he wrote this poem, his genius, of course, his genius lasted until his last breath, his very last breath. So if you study with me next semester, which is etymology and couplets, I will teach you the very last poem, another pentasyllabic poem. I love this better, but the other one is simply also unsurpassed. The last, when he was sick and on his last breath, someone could write like that. It was just amazing. It's like Mozart's Requiem. You know, he couldn't finish it. He died. Yeah. Like Schubert's Unfinished. You guys can tell how much I love music, right? I'm crazy
Music,
about
movie,
I'm
opera.
crazy about music. Yeah. Classical music is my life. But I also like jazz and blues. But Broadway music, never. I just can't stand it. You know, I can't stand Frank Sinatra or Tony Martin, you know, that kind of music. Frank Sinatra, they think he's God. I think he's trash. You know, this is desecration, you know. A lot of Americans loves that, but I can't stand that. But I love Billie Holiday and Ella Fitzgerald, you know, and jazz and blues. I love. I really, really love. I think they have soul. You know, Broadway has no soul in it. And, you know, that Wagner has teeny bit of a soul, but Bellini has big soul, you know. My Bellini. Now, Franco, there's a Met, has a conductor. His name is Maurizio Bellini.
Yeah.
I'm going to find him, ask him, are you related to
No, he's not.
Vincenzo?
He's not.
No, they're not. Because there are a lot of, it's a
He's
popular
not
name,
Bellini.
right?
He's
A lot
not
of
Bellini.
artists and painters, there are four.
There are many.
Yeah, there are four great Bellinis painting.
Yeah.
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 One of them is almost as good as Caravaggio.
What's the nickname?
Yeah, I can't remember his first name.
What's the nickname?
Bellini.
What's the nickname?
What's his name?
Nickname.
Nicholas.
Nickname.
Nickname.
It's a nickname.
Oh, really? What's his real
Because all the
name?
last name you need to have nickname.
Ah, what's his first name?
Remember, right?
Yeah, there are four. In the family, there are four great Bellinis. But one was great. But my all-time favorite is Caravaggio. So, why am I wasting time telling you what I like? Class, what do you care? You don't care. Well, unless you can give me a real Caravaggio, you know, which would be maybe $1 million. No. Maybe $100 million, you know, a real Caravaggio. In the world, there are only about no more than 12 pieces left. You know, at the Frick, they have two.
This one, the St. Francis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
And at the Met, there are 2 or 3.
Yeah, if you collect.
They're very few, very, very few. And, oh, I love you. Okay, now look at this. The title of this is In Fond Remembrance, in fond memory of the Eastern Hill. Dongshan, obviously this mountain is to the eastern part of a province. Indeed, it's in the eastern part of the Zhejiang province. Zhejiang is a rich province to the south of Jiangsu, where Shanghai is, where my parents were from, Jiangsu. So there is a place, there is a mountain, which is called Dongshan. Dongshan, because the weather is kind of like north part of north tip of Florida, and South Carolina or North Carolina, the climate. And in other words, there are 4 seasons, the 4 seasons, and it's very beautiful, and the place is beautiful, and a lot of mountains, and flowers bloom almost all year round. A beautiful place. So he composed, Li Bai composed this poem in his fond memory of this eastern hill, but to be discussed on their underlying imageries. This is a pentasyllabic poem, which means 5 characters per line, only 4 lines, only 20 characters. And it has become one of my all-time favorites. To me, the greatest. I cannot repeat enough times that this is, to me, the greatest pentasyllabic quatrain in the history of Chinese literature. So I urge you, every one of you, to memorize this by heart. Commit it to memory. It wouldn't be so hard. Only 4 lines, for God's sake. And after we have learned it, it has a good fluidity. So it's easy. Once you understand, so easy to remember it. The first line, 不向东山久. The first character is not, which is a daring touch, only a genius poet would dare to do. Lin Laoshi and myself, we were talking about this before I came in the office. So Lin Laoshi said, because Lin Laoshi knows a lot about classical Chinese literature and poems, he said this poem is not quite well known, as well known as some of the other much more popular poems by Li Bai. Li Bai is considered, some people think arguably, but for me, he is definitely, with no doubt, the greatest poet ever lived in the history of Chinese literature, history of Chinese poetry and Chinese literature. So the second character is it's a verb. Here it's functioning using the English language. It's a preposition. The character shows you a person in the house, but with his finger, he is pointing to a direction. So what does that mean? It means towards. As a verb, be towards. I am facing something. Are you with me? So inside there's a mouth representing a person. A person in the house pointing outside. So the character means facing or pointing towards. Are you with me? So here, because we have the last character is the verb of the first line. So xiang is a preposition. Not facing towards the eastern hill for a long time. A more pedantic translation, that I have not thought, that my mind has not gone towards in the direction of the eastern hill has been a long time. Are you with me? It's rather complicated. So this 不向东山 can be interpreted as the subject of this line. And 久, the last character, is the verb. Be a long time. Has been a long time. Guys, are you with me? So instead of saying not going there, not thinking about it, but he uses the first magical touch is the use of 向, towards. So abstractly, meaning his mind, his thoughts. Are you with me?
Mm-hmm.
His thoughts have not flown in the direction, flown to the eastern hill for such a long time, which is echoing the first character of the title, E, to remember. If you have been to a place so often, so frequently, why do you have to remember it? You see it frequently. Are you with me? So the first line, there are only 4 lines. The first line is already echoing the first character in the title, brings out what that E is. Class, are you with me? The character E is heart, is the radical. Right hand side is music of the heart. Music of the heart, which is related to the affairs of the heart. What is that? Memory. Ideally, sweet memories. If it's not sweet memories, why do Chinese people create a character for remembrance or memory based in these 2 pictures? The top of the E, right hand side, is music. Bottom is heart. So E is idea. Ideal ideas, class, ideal ideas must be sweet ideas, fine ideas. So this character means good ideas of the mind, which is memory, good memory. So without the character fond, or the English word fond, it's built inside. Are you with me? So a fond memory of the Eastern Hill. Now, do you see that? All of a sudden I added fond because of the etymology tells us this. 忆东山. So the first line is saying, God, I've been busy doing what? All the worldly, all the tacky and tawdry things that have been occupied my mind. And so even my mind, my thoughts have not traveled, have not flown in the direction of Eastern Hills. That's the first line, which is very poetic already. 不像东山久. And the structure of this first line is simply amazing. That 不像东山, you may say that is a four-character clause. I have not been thinking towards that 东山, and it has been a long time. Or that I haven't been thinking toward in the direction of the Eastern Hill has been a long time. Are you with me? You can say 不像东山 is the subject clause, and you can say 不像东山 is a sentence. This kind of complexity adds to the poetics of a classical Chinese poem, especially under the pen from the mind, the head of a genius such as the inimitable Li Bai, the towering Li Bai. This is only the first line. He has to set the mise en scène to tell you why he composed this poem. It's all about Eastern Hill. Now, the second line, first he talked about the mountains. Then in the second line, the wild roses in Chinese, in China, wild roses are much smaller than regular roses. In China, regular roses are about this big. The wild roses are this big, very small. The qiangwei, the sweet qiangwei, the fragrance is intoxicating, which is quite unlike how roses smell here in the Western world. That big, no smell. I thought they were plastic, okay, when I saw them. And I saw beautiful, real roses. I thought they were the tackiest, one of the tackiest things in the world, which is plastic flower. I cannot be in a room with plastic flowers. Where I lecture, I went to Yale. I walked on stage, I felt something's wrong. And before I looked at all the roses and all plastic flowers, I said to the organizer, I left the lecture. People already applauded everything. I walked back, I said, would you please tell someone to move that away? I cannot say a word with that on stage with me. So they removed the pot, a pot of plastic flowers. So she said, they're made of silk. I said, whatever, just please, take them away. It's like lecturing to toupees. What are you going to do? That's me. Qiangwei is so beautiful. Smell is intoxicating. Ji here is either question or non-question. As a question word, it means how many. As a non-question character, it means several. So it's one of the few characters that can be served both question word and non-question word. Are you with me? You can say, I have several friends. You can say, 我有几个朋友. But if I say, look at you like this, 你有几个朋友? Like that, 你有几, like that, Obviously, it's a question. Then, if I say, make a statement, I say, 我有几个朋友, meaning I have a few friends. That's not a question. Are you with me? So, because of the complexity of functions of G, so here could be a question, which, in my opinion, indeed is a question. It is an interrogative sentence. We have a affirmative sentence followed by second line interrogative sentence, followed by the third line, affirmative sentence, followed by the fourth line, the finale interrogative sentence. Class, are you with me? Because in life, you always think this is true. On second thought, is it? It's a wonderful life, as the techie movie insists. I hate that movie, by the way. You know, it's a wonderful life. I hate it. I can never finish it. I tried. On second thought, it ain't so wonderful. What's so wonderful about it? You just end up old, sick, and die.
You forgot about art.
Exactly. No art to talk about. You're just a pile of white gold, white bones. White bones. Okay, if you're lucky. So the worms will eat you clean, you know. But of course, it's just one side way to look at it, you know. So, but here, we don't know whether it's a question. If you insist, you say, I don't think it's a question word. Okay, you have your opinion. So these wild, petite, lovely roses, how many times? Or can be, wow, how many times indeed you have bloomed? So it becomes exclamatory sentence. Or, wow, it's been so many years. How many times have you bloomed? Because every flower, once it dies, the flower dies, it dies forever. And next year, it's a new bud, new flower comes out. So it's the second. So one is on the mountain, and then some flowers, usually in the soil, not high up there. High up there, there is mountain, but still, flower comes from soil. So the first line introduces you mountain. Second line introduces to you flowers. Do you see how he sets up? And then after he has talked about the blossoms of these sweet flowers, which most of which are pink or shocking pink, bright red, or white, or yellow, so it's very colorful. The colors are built inside of the word 蔷薇, in the characters 蔷薇 and 花. Even though here, this 花, as in the last point we studied, this 花 is a verb. How many times have these wild, small, lovely roses bloomed? Open up. In English, the word flower can be a verb. Flowering.
How do we know it's times? How do we know it's not just how many?
度 is times.
Okay.
Time, not the long time, meaning it's the frequency of time. I've been to Paris 3 times, that kind of time. How many times have you flowered? Or how many times? Real question. How many times have you bloomed? That can be that. Or how many times? How many times you have bloomed? Could be that. And the third line, since the character flower and the 蔷薇 and the first two characters and the last character of the second line have introduced to you the resplendent colors of different flowers of different colors. So it's immediately followed by yet another color that is white. And it's something in the sky. 白云. Do you see how the camera eye, the poet has camera eyes? There are a lot of different eyes. Did you know that? There are killer eyes. I call them killer eyes. Like Mia. Mia has killer eyes, meaning she has beautiful eyes. Are you with me? Yeah. Sometimes I say this to when I was young, 50 years ago. I would say, gee, you have killer eyes. She said, what? I said, it's a compliment. Okay. Okay, go on with your drink. I'm gonna move. I moved to another spot on the bar to have my drink. It's supposed to be a compliment, high compliment, you know. So this is a, so it's a killer touch, poetic touch, to treat language like this. Hua on earth immediately switch to, so he covers the entire universe, heaven and earth, round and round, based on the 4 characters in Chinese, referring to Taoism, the spirit of Taoism, or Taoism, T-A-O, not should be Tao. There is a 4-character phrase referring to Tao. Tao, 无所不在. So the literal translation is, at no place is there no Tao. Tao is all over the place. In the sky, in the flower, in the tree, in the rain, in a spider's net after the rain, in the snow, in everything there is Tao. The way. So it means the way. 道无所不在. That's why in Chinese painting, often you see little land, a lot of white space. But somehow you look at a fine Chinese painting, even though the white space occupies 3/4 of a painting, yet you don't feel it's just whiteness. You feel it's the sky. There may not be birds. Because in that empty space, there is Tao. There is the way. That's how you read Chinese poems. That's how you look at and find Chinese painting. That is how you appreciate the high art of Qing. You know, I can't stand the modern so-called, they say, Tang music and all that. If you are a tourist going to China, you go to Xi'an, they tell you this is the Tang music and dance with the cheapest tacky clothes, you know, the plastic-made robes worn by those tacky-looking women with, you know, cheesecake makeup, you know, panda eyes, you know, it's just horrible, and with fake eyelashes. Of course, I've never been there, but when I saw it, I took a glance at the tacky variety shows on New Year's time from China. I took one look at it, oh my God. So,
Oh, wait, I can't read it. Okay, never mind. 你可以是
Yes.
so head raised, what do you see? White, pure gold. You see sky, heaven is so pure. It's marked by purity. The moon is white, the cloud is white, everything is white. Only on the earth you have something that is so quickly passing, like all the blossoms, 蔷薇. The white clouds floating in the sky. Huan is what? They have returned. They have come back. They have come back to the part of the sky which is within my eyesight. Class, within my eyesight, sky is so wide, so vast, I cannot see the entire sky. But all I can see within my eyesight, I see the white clouds there. They have come back together in the small pieces or in large pieces. In that sense, they have come back. But then, on their own volition, on their own will, they're free. Free as, in English, you say, free as a bird. In Chinese, we say, we're free as clouds. We fly. Nobody can stop clouds from flying. But bird can be caught. So you tell me, which culture is more poetic? Of course, Chinese. You wouldn't be sitting here if not. Bai Yun Huan, after he has returned, actually hiding inside of 5 characters, there are 2 predicates, and then san is another verb. Zi here is an adverb. On their own volition, by their own will, they scattered. Just like how people should be, abiding by the quintessential spirit of Taoism. We're buddies. When there is good wine being served, good champagne being served, we drink until we're drunk. Then you go your way and I mine. Let's not form any long attachment, which will only lead to misery, to some kind of conflict. Eventually, we'll break up. Whether it's a dear good friend, and even if you make up, it will never ever be the same. The innocence is gone. And it particularly goes with romantic affairs. The best thing is to say goodbye when you are the sweetest, you feel the sweetest towards the other person. But nobody can do that because we're human beings. We're stupid. We don't know. We want to love and love more and love more. And then before you know it, hate sets in. Because hatred is right around the corner. Look at this. Innocent faces. we're children. What do we know? It's part of education. I have to enlighten you. You're too innocent. 白云环之善, that's the line. So grammatically, each line, so not 2 lines are exactly the same structure because there are 4 lines. 白云环之善, in this character, in this line, there are 2 verbs. 环 is the verb, 善 is the verb. There are 2 clauses. It's a two sentence line or 2 clause line. Class, did you hear me? And one is white cloud. And then after the clouds have scattered away, you do not see the whiteness so distinctly anymore. Who will come out? 明月, bright moon, has risen. But the bright moon today, once she sets, the following night, when she comes out again, in the ancient times, during the 8th century, the poets, they thought, I don't know whether or not they knew. I'm pretty sure in the 8th century, they did not know. They suspected that the new moon happens the following night. It's a different moon, not the same moon, because the size, everything, and also they feel it's gone. The moon has gone. So he says the bright moon. So the white clouds, the character scattered away, meaning that the character san, the last character of the 3rd line, has a little sense of melancholy hidden inside of the character. That means saying adieu to each other, farewell, goodbye, 我们散了。散 is sometimes referring to a couple, a loving couple. You say, what happened to Mary and Johnny? You say, 他们散了 in colloquial Chinese, meaning they're separated, they broke up. So 散 can be a sad character. And the character, last line, the bright moon is asking, there's a question word. 谁 is the question word. So bright moon, the one perspective is to say the bright moon from the bright moon has been coming out, has been rising and setting for the past eons. But now, today, into whose rooms, whose household, into whose quarters have you set? Because moon set. Even bright moon will set. Go down, will go down. But tonight, you go down into whose home? This is the poem. Now, by its face value, it's beautiful. The first line is introducing the mountain. Second line is in the mountain there are these small flowers from the earth. And then looking up, saying the white clouds, like people, we will die eventually. Eventually we will part company. So parting is always a sweet sorrow. Romeo doesn't have to say it, as we have lived long enough to feel it. So that's sadness. But moon will come out. But every night the moon will set in the same direction, but in that direction the household in which that moon has set, can be different households, can be different masters, can have changed, meaning times have passed. So ultimately, what's so amazing, so astounding and astonishing, as I would say no other poem in the long history of Chinese literature has any poet even attempted to write a poem as this one. This Eastern Hill happens to be the literary sobriquet title of Xie An, An as in Ping An An, as in peace. Xie An was 400 years Li Bai's senior. He was a great militarist. He was a great poet. He was a great statesman. He was a great gregarious man. He was a great bon vivant. He enjoyed great la joie de vivre all his life. So he was one of Li Bai's idols. In the area of Dongshan, he bought the hill. He was so rich. He served as the grand counselor during the Jin dynasty. So he bought the hilltop. So Chinese people admired him so much. They called him, instead of calling him by his name Xie An, they called him Xie Dongshan. So Dongshan, this poem is dedicated to Xie An, whom Li Bai admired no end. Are you with me? 安平安的安 roof 谢谢的谢 谢安 one of the most famous 谢 you can if you definitely it's in your it has to be in your computer if it's not throw it away. It has no use at all. Class, are you with me? So he is remembering whom? This great macho but tender, both, Did he have a lot of girls? You bet. Yeah. Lot of beautiful sing-song
Lots of
girls.
Chang Wei.
Yes. Lot of people who would go, poets who would go to him. Of course, because he himself was a great poet. 谢安、谢条和谢灵运，啊，他们都是谢，不是一家，没有关系。So 李白 most adored men of antiquity was 谢安 among all the people whom he admired. So the first line is, my mind has not gone to the spirit of 谢安 for so long. Me bad. Are you with me? The first line is me bad. Li Bai is doing that. I've been bogged down. Bog, is that the expression?
Yeah, yeah.
Bogged down by all the tacky worldly things that I haven't even. So sorry, the dear spirit of Xie Dongshan. I've not thought of you for so long. So Eastern Hill is not really Eastern Hill, but it could be, because there is this place. Are you with me? Mm-hmm. So reality and magic, they have blended into one. Class, this is the ultimate quintessence of Chinese poetry, this poem. The second line, right next to the mention of Xie An, on this mountain, on this hill, not that high, on the hill. Next to it, there is a hole. Because it's on the mountain. There's a hole. There's a
cave.
Mountain has a cave. There's a cave. In the cave, there were a lot of wild roses, not grown by people. Wild roses. And Xie An loved those roses. So he took extra care of the roses, watered them, so they bloom almost all year round, because it's kind of south. Even when snow in the cave is not that cold, So that cave is called, Xie An gave it a name, Qiang Wei Dong, Rose Cave. Are you with me? So the second line is, there is a realistic allusion, which is the Wild Rose Cave. So how many times have the wild roses bloomed in the Wild Rose Cave on the Eastern Hill, where Xie An made his home and his villa, his summer house. And the third line, Bai Yun, happens to be, it's called Bai Yun Tang, the White Cloud Hall, Hall. White Cloud Hall is Xie An's studio, where he composed his poem, where he drew his military ploys, and where he received all his visitors, all the men of letters and men of statesmen, his buddies, where they would chat away. Class, are you with me? So the third line, the second line, is referring to all the girls, sing-song girls, in his mansion. In his mansion, he used the flowers. And Bai Yun is referring to all his buddies. Where are they today? 400 years ago, they all died. And even when they were alive, they would visit Xie An for 10 days, 2 weeks, or the longest, a month, they would go away. Are you with me? But now, it's all dead. They are all dead. So that is the allusion of the third line. Are you with me? So on the surface, superficially, it's beautiful enough. But underneath, there he puts 白云堂, he dropped the tang, it becomes 白云. So the third line is referring to his male buddies. And the fourth line is echoing the second line. So in the Chinese culture, since the Tang Dynasty, the aesthetic sense is for a woman to have an apple face. But instead of saying apple face, we say moon face. 面如满月, face resembles a full moon. That means it's the most beautiful girl, round face. Okay, white, face like the full moon. So this 明月 is always referring, and also moon is feminine for us. It's bright moon is echoing the 蔷薇 white roses. Are you with me? So all these years, over 400 years have gone by, and every 15th day of the lunar month, it's round. The moon is perfect round. So in 1 year, the moon is round perfectly round 15 times. 15 times 12 months. And then 15 months. 15 times 12. It's already what? 100 and almost 200 times, right? 200 times 400 years. Tell me how many years? The moon has set, moon has risen. Are you with me? So now that house, that villa, of course, Xie has been dead for over 400 years. So who is there? Who knows? So what is this poem about? The brevity of life, the transitoriness of all the happiness and all the glory and all the monetary, the richness, the riches and the richness and all the glories and all the youthful and golden halcyon days are so brief. Here, 400 years later, he is. And then, ultimately, in Jian's, that villa, in that great mansion, there is the big parlor, the most important parlor, the big parlor, where dance and singing and entertainment and meal, banquet, everything are held. What is that place called? 明月堂. The Bright Moon Hall. So Bright Moon Hall, White Cloud Hall, and Wild Rose Cave. And they are all possessions of Xie Dongshan of 400 years back. So from his memory, everything about Xie life appeared in this poem, but not a word is talked about Xie or An. It becomes something just larger than Xie, larger than life, larger than a moment of time captured. Class, so far so good? You understand the magic? This is like a riddle, you know? It's incredible. Okay, so far so good? Are you impressed? What's more, the finale. That is not the miracle. The final touch, music. When you write a poem, music is ever so important. So the first line and the second line, perfectly. Each character, they should be the contrast, opposite, ideally. Are you with me? Remember I said they should be parallel. Oh no, they should never ever be parallel except for the first and third. We allow it. But the ideal is to be antithetical, the opposite. Let's look at this. The first line, 不 is fourth tone, meaning feminine force. The lower tone and falling tone, they are feminine force. High tones, rising and high, are masculine tones. Are you with me? So we have the high and low. So music is the same. Remember, I even sang to you, right? I hum to you music. So no music with one note. Even Philip Glass. So still there's a little bum 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 bum. Then he would change bum 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 bum. Not bum. That wouldn't be really called a piece. So now look at this. The first line, low, low. Do you see that? Feminine force, followed by high force, high force, high music, high music. Do you see the first line? 不像东山酒. Did you hear me? 不像东山酒. High, high, low, low. Low, low, high, high, low. Are you with me? Now let's check out the second line. 蔷薇 high, high. 几度 low, low, high. First line is low, low, high, high, low. Second line is high, high, low, low, high. Class, did you hear me? And the third line, 白云 high, high. 白 in ancient times is fourth tone. It's pronounced as 薄云. Never ever 白云. So it's low, high, high, low, low. Did you hear me? Low, high, high, low, low. That means it's feminine force, masculine force, and followed by feminine force and feminine force. Are you with me? And now let's look at the very last line. Then we have high, low, low, high, high. Are you with me? Do you see that? What's going on here? They're completely matching. The magic. This is magic. The character he chose to be so poetic, yet musically, it's so perfect. Grammatically, it's so perfect. The poetics are so rich. And there is historical allusion.
And he doesn't even need to have that small exception that you told him.
Exactly,
right?
exactly,
He's the only,
exactly.
so far the only
Exactly. Exactly. This is just, he has elevated the Chinese language to the highest point, to the zenith of its life. If we call life has its life, this poem has elevated the life of the Chinese language to its zenith. It has reached the zenith of the life of Chinese language.
Stupid question.
Yes.
How do we know how certain characters were pronounced in the ancient times?
Because you're talking to Taiwan. So, class, indeed, you have to study. You have to be taught. For instance, now you know. So Li Bai was not, during his time, he was not called Li Bai. He was called Li Bo.
Well, what I mean is, how do we know that? I mean, because we have no recording of sound, right?
Oh, if you have 词源 or 词海, the ocean or the origin dictionary, encyclopedic, that one, it tells you the original sound is 入声, is 不.
So I guess, sorry for being.
Dictionary tells you. If you found the character, it tells you. It says
So
nowadays.
back in the days.
It says nowadays it is second tone. But if you want to rhyme the rhyming skill, the rhyming scheme, the tonal scheme. If you want to write a poetic essay or a poem, the tone is fourth tone. The book will tell you. So you must consult the dictionaries if you have a little doubt about it. First, I said, years ago, when I read this poem, I think 20 years ago, I said, oh my God, the first two lines, the tones match perfectly. The second one, by its second tone, it doesn't, it's the same as being. So the first character, maybe he gives it, it's allowed. Then, when I was about 2-3 years later, I realized this bo is not pronounced as by, it's pronounced as bo, bo, fourth tone. 拨云还自上，明月落谁家? So this character bo is fourth tone. So if you hear me say it, now that you know, if I recite this very slowly, you can hear the music. And because it's so, to the Chinese, so balanced, yin and yang, in music, the two forces are so balanced, it becomes very beautiful, beautiful sounding. 不向东山久，蔷薇几度花。拨云还自散，明月落谁家? The sound, the rhyming sound is as if you were exclaiming. He is letting out an exclamation. How time stays for no one. How time goes by. But still, I want to commemorate. I want to remember Xie Dongshan by writing this poem in my fond memory of this great man. Do you like it?
Very. Excellent. Thank you.
I'm happy that I introduced you. Thank you so much. This is my all-time favorites. Among my all-time favorites, this is my favorite of my favorites. This is the crème de la crème. Yeah. Because it's the technique, what do you think? It's a little surprising, right? That one poem can have so